Hello friends, welcome to my program, Colonel's Punch. Today, I'm going to speak to you on the world's most respected Nobel Prize winner for peace, woman fighter, Aung San Suu Kyi of Burma, now called Myanmar. Myanmar or Burma has been very close to us. It was part of the British Empire. And like us, it got independence. General Aung San was the father of Burma people. He was assassinated just months before Burma became independence. And his daughter Suu Kyi was just about 3 to 4 years old. She was born in 1945. Now imagine this little girl who never saw her great father. She grew up with her mother, Kim Kyi. She came to India. Her mother was ambassador to India and Nepal. She grew up in India. Suu Kyi, she studied in Delhi, St. Mary's Convent, and thereafter graduated from the University of Delhi. She had a longish tenure in India. Her childhood was spent in Delhi, and she knew the Indians very well, especially the politicians. Then she went to UK. Now here, she graduated from the Oxford University and also got an MA in politics and economics. Here she met her husband, Michael Harris, and in 1972, they married and they had 2 children called Alexander and Kim. Now here is where the very life of this great noble patriot of Myanmar turns. She's a small little girl who's grown up in Delhi, gone to UK, Oxford, thereafter a stint of job for 3 years in the United Nations. She marries a Britisher, and her mother was a very strong politician. She was sick. So in 1988, Suu Kyi lands up in Myanmar to look after her ailing mother. She was shocked. Myanmar was in turmoil. The people were enslaved. There was no democracy. Since 1962, General Myint had a dictatorship. There was a military junta ruling. People's aspirations were crushed. It is here, this young lady, Suu Kyi, decides to come to the help, to fight a resistance, a non-violent resistance against the Burmese junta. Small, fragile, thin-framed, Suu Kyi came into her own in 1988. She was all alone in Myanmar. Her mother had expired. Her husband and children were in UK, but she had the guts of a tiger. She wanted freedom at all cost, democracy to be brought into Myanmar. She was prepared and she picked up the gauntlet. The world press and the media and world leaders of the democratic world were with her. And finally, the army dictator resigned in 1988. And then Suu Kyi formed her own party called the NLD, which had freedom fighters, old retired army persons, and the youth. The elections were about to be declared when the 888 revolution took place in Burma. That is 8 August 1988. It's the red letter day for all Myanmar people because they came out on the street and protested. There was a revolution. It shook the very basis of the army junta. In the 1999 elections, 1989 elections, Suu Kyi and the NLD won 86% of the seats. 86% of the majority people voted for her. And it was a shock to Myanmar military junta. They were dazed. They don't know what to do. They were losing face. People were against them on the roads. But then they played dirty again. They put this fragile lady and all the elected legislators into jail. They said, this election is null and void. And thereafter, for the next 21 years, the military reigned. They enslaved the people again. There was no democracy. People were treated as worst life they had. There was misery, poverty. And then poor Suu Kyi was kept away from her family for 21 years, out of which 15 years she was in house arrest. She was not able to go. Even her family was allowed only about 4 to 5 times during these years. The military junta was quite happy to tell her to go out, but she refused. Even when she got her Peace Nobel Prize, it was her family which went and took the prize. She was not allowed because she knew if she went, she will never come back. The political pressure, the world media was growing. This little lady was growing in stature. Now, the elections were announced in 2010. Suu Kyi was like the children of Gandhi, the Times magazine said. And during the elections, NLD and her party did not stand. They knew that if they did, democracy will have no chance. She said, let's give a democracy a chance. Let some other parties come up. But then it was the same military junta which came and people were fed up. In 215, it was time now for the next elections. And mind you, the army had said very clearly they had 25% of the seats in parliament. And the election was held. And this time, SUU KYI got a larger majority, 86% of the seats. The army had to bend down. She formed her government. And the people were happy. But the army played again dirty. They thought they were playing dirty. They said SUU KYI cannot become the president because she's married a foreigner, she's got British children. But then, when she had the full majority, they voted her as a state councillor, which was equivalent and more powerful as a prime minister, equivalent to prime minister. And she was also in charge of foreign affairs. So she was able to go all over the world, meet all the presidents of USA, UK. She went to Switzerland, her Nobel Prize. Awards came in aplenty. She was writing books, and she became the most popular leader. Everyone was happy, the people of Burma especially, of Myanmar. There was democracy in full boom, economic boom. The college, the younger generations were empowered. Now, this was hurting the army junta most. They had a plan. The army junta and the army called Third War decided to create problems for SUU KYI. They got after Rohingyas and they burned their villages. They were Muslims. Over 10,000 were killed. Over 1 lakh went as migrants to Bangladesh. They went all over the world. And SUU KYI just could not do anything. She was silent. She was silent because she knew the truth. It was not her hand. But what the army wanted, it happened. The world opinion changed against her. Some awards were taken back. And she was also pulled up in the international courts of justice. But then, the people knew that this was only, the way army was behind all this muck. She did her full tenure till 220 November. And there was elections again. And in this election, by God, she came out stronger. People just loved her. And the 220 November election was a landmark. She had a landslide victory. 396 seats out of 476. It was a great day. People were rejoicing. But not the military junta. Just 1 day prior, General Min Aung, Commander-in-Chief of the Myanmar, Burmese army, did a coup. Just 1 day before He was to be again sworn in for the next 5 years. SUU KYI was dragged into the jail. The president was also taken away, President Myint, and most of the deputies and ministers were put under jail. Myanmar erupted, the people were on the streets. It was a bloody war by the Myanmar army. They fired at the people. Blood was flowing all over. Over 1,000 protesters, including small children, women, monks. Just imagine over 1,000 people were killed. Over 10,000 innocents were injured, maimed for life, and put into the jails. There are countless people who died. The world just saw Myanmar democracy being cut into pieces. The communists, the Chinese were the most happy, and the Russians. The people of Myanmar started targeting the Chinese factories. They're burning them all over. When the protests got stronger, the army just cordoned off areas, burned up houses. Then the protest went inland. It was a massive protest going on, still on. And thousands of people have migrated to Thailand. Some came to India. And the Burmese on Myanmar military junta was hunting everyone out. The UN, for the first time, they never passed such, stringer remarks. They said, Myanmar people have a legitimate right. SUU KYI and the democracy must be given the due respect as they had won, honorably. They nearly put an embargo on Myanmar military goods coming to them. This was the first time when the UN has been so strongly opposing a military dictator rule. More things are likely to happen. Let us see what happens. But one thing is very clear. Aung San Suu Kyi is now 75 years old. She is very popular. She has won the elections. And by God, if military junta keeps her in prison like this, then Myanmar is in for trouble. Suu Kyi has become an international face of non-violence, peaceful resistance. She, a woman, a strong woman of the world, the strongest, now is back, imprisoned or detained. It's a shame for the whole world. She has stayed more days in imprisonment than Mahatma Gandhi or Nelson Mandela. And she, being the movement, is the very face of human nobility. She is not going to be detained for too long. Let us see what is happening in India. Well, gentlemen, SUU KYI is the daughter of the world. She is indeed the daughter of Gandhi's, as Time magazine had said. And India, through the ages, has very close ties with Myanmar, that is Burma. I still remember those days historically when Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah was deposed and sent to Rangoon. The King of Sri Lanka came to India, Vellore. But the hardest blow was when the King of Burma, Thiba, was deported to Ratnagiri in 1816 too. Ratnagiri is very close to my hometown. I used to go to that palace, which was on the seaside on a hill. Huge mansion. And I used to sit on the rock and wonder what King Thiba used to say, because he died in India. Looking at the sea, he must be gazing out. Still, because his grave is still there, wanting to go back to Burma, is Myanmar now. Well, India has got a very close ties with Tibet, with Burma, Myanmar, and even during the army junta reign, a very balanced, mature outlook was taken by India, because India has got 1,500 kilometers, near 1,600 kilometers border along its northeast region. Nagaland, Mizoram, Arunachal. The people, Nagas and Mizos, are closely linked, both traditionally, culturally, with the Chins of Burma. The 2018 agreement gave free transport, near free visas and movement to both the people to get across for medicine, for education, economic ties. And it was a roaring relationship all the time, notwithstanding that India always prayed for Myanmar to be democratically more alive. The Indian response for overthrowing SUU KYI was very cautious. India had deep concern over the development. India always supported democratic transmission and the rule of law. But then the people-to-people contact was always the basis on which the Indian-Burmese Myanmar policy evolved. India Look East policy had the Karadan project, which was a multi-modular transit project. It gave another strategic jump to the Indian approach towards east and also towards its northeast territories. From the Kolkata seaport a connection to Sitwe port in Myanmar. And from Sitwe along the Kaladan river, it went all up to Paleta along the river transit, and then a land route of just about 70 kilometers into India. Now this project, which is more than $500 billion, is nearly completed. The people-to-people links are very strong. Over 1,000 Burmese have come down after the coup to India. And there are some policemen also. There is close ties and close talks being taking place. But India is very clear. Our relationship with Myanmar will be steadfast because it's people-friendly. We believe in democracy, and we believe in the power of the powerless, that is, SUU KYI, so powerful, yet so powerless. But she'll come back. She'll come back. She's just 75. And she's loved by her people. She's loved by India because she was born and brought up here. We pray for her. We pray for the people. And I'm sure, as I've said, I've always looked to freedom for the people of Burma. Jai Hind.